Okay, let's get into this. If you are listening to this right now, welcome to Thursday, January 29th, 2026.
Hello.
And if you're anywhere near the Los Angeles waterfront or really anywhere in the greater LA harbor area, you know there's a certain kind of buzz in the air.
Oh, it's palpable. It really is. It feels like the sound of a starting gun just went off.
That's the perfect way to put it, a starting gun. Because just yesterday, January 28th, the news finally dropped. The official announcement came down that West Harbor, that massive $500 million waterfront redevelopment we've been watching rise from the dust for what feels like forever.
Feels like a decade, yeah.
It is officially a 2026 World Cup fan zone.
Which is, that is a massive designation. We are not just talking about putting a few extra TVs in a bar.
No.
This means official FIFA-sanctioned watch parties happening right there on the water. We even have the dates locked in. It's July 14, 15, 18, and 19 of this coming summer.
It's huge, but this is where it gets really, really interesting for us, and it's the whole reason we're doing this deep dive today.
Right.
Usually when we talk about these mega developments, the conversation kind of stops at the skyline. We talk about the steel, the glass, the 6,200-seat amphitheater.
It's the Ferris wheel, all of it.
Exactly. The hardware, if you want to call it that.
Right. The physical stuff, the infrastructure you can touch and see.
But today, we're doing something a little different. We're looking at a stack of documents here that tells a completely different story. A story that's running parallel to that massive construction project.
A parallel track.
We have a memoir, a really personal, almost emotional memoir from the founders of a place called Voxel Micro Video Labs.
And this is what I find so fascinating. Because Voxel isn't a giant stadium. It's not some multinational conglomerate.
Not at all.
It's an intimate, historic renovation of a single, solitary building on West 6th Street. That's what I'd almost call the software, or maybe the heart of the town.
The heart. I love that. So the mission for us today, for this deep dive, is to figure out how these two things connect. You've got the $500 million entertainment complex on the water.
The hardware.
And you've got this soulful storytelling hub up on the hill. How do they work in sync? Because, usually the narrative is that the big guy comes in and just crushes the little guy.
That's the standard narrative, isn't it?
Yeah.
That gentrification just comes in like a wave, wipes the slate clean, and all that local color, it just vanishes.
Right.
But the argument we're seeing in these sources, and specifically from the founders of Voxel, Jennifer Wolf and Edwin, is that these two projects, they aren't competing at all.
They see it differently.
They see them as two halves of the exact same engine.
The hardware and the heart. I really love that framing. So, okay, let's set the scene properly for everyone. It's January 2026. San Pedro right now is, it's a mix of construction dust and just this massive sense of anticipation.
A lot of both, yeah.
So where do we even begin? What are we looking at here in terms of the timeline?
Well, I think we have to start with this concept of the dress rehearsal. That's the term that keeps popping up in all the analysis of this World Cup news.
The dress rehearsal, okay.
Yes. For years, everyone in LA has been hyper-focused on the 2028 Olympics.
Right, of course. That's the big show.
That's the big show. That's when the entire world descends on the city for weeks on end. But this announcement, this World Cup fan zone in July 2026, it completely changes the timeline. It accelerates the whole roadmap.
It puts a very real, very hard deadline on the calendar.
Precisely. And what really stands out to me in the Voxel memoir is how immediately they recognized this strategic shift. It's right there in their internal notes. They say, and I'm quoting here, "You don't have to wait for the 2028 Olympics to test your global marketing."
I saw that line. It feels like a rally cry, doesn't it?
It really does.
They're basically turning to all the local businesses and saying, hey, listen up. The world is coming to your doorstep in 6 months.
Yeah, not in 2 years.
You don't have 2 years to figure this out. You have until July.
And it's a classic case of what marketers call event-driven marketing.
Okay, break that down for us. What does that actually mean for, say, the guy running a sandwich shop on Pacific Avenue?
Well, usually marketing is a slow burn. Right? You build a brand over years. You build recognition. But an event-driven strategy uses an external deadline, a big, unmissable event, to force action.
Okay.
So if you're a local business owner, maybe you run that sandwich shop, or you're an artist in the arts district, or you're a local brewer, you have this window right now, this spring of 2026, to figure out your story.
To get your house in order.
Exactly. Because come July, you are going to have thousands upon thousands of international soccer fans flooding the waterfront.
And these aren't just, locals from down the street. These are tourists, people with disposable income, and they are looking for an authentic experience.
Exactly. But here's the billion-dollar question. They're going to be at the waterfront, at West Harbor. How do you get them to walk up the hill to the historic downtown? How do you pull them away from the big, shiny new thing?
And I think that brings us to this really brilliant concept you mentioned earlier, the post-game show. This was something that really, really clicked for me when I was reading through Voxel's vision for this.
It's such a smart way to frame this energy. Look, if West Harbor is the stadium, it's where the noise is, the big screens, the spectacle on the water, just the sheer mass of humanity.
Right, the main event.
The main event. Then where do people go when the match ends? Where do they go to decompress, to celebrate, to analyze?
They go to the post-game show.
Exactly.
They go to 6th Street.
They go up the hill to analyze the game, to grab a drink at a local spot, to soak in the actual culture of the city. They want to escape the sterile event zone and find the real San Pedro.
And Voxel is positioning itself to be the hub for that whole narrative.
Yes. It's where the content creation happens. It's where the analysis happens. It's the engine that prevents the historic downtown from being completely overshadowed by the shiny new waterfront.
So instead of competing, it actually creates a flow.
A flow of people from the water up to the town.
And a flow of stories from the town out to the world.
That's the key. Because if you capture that content, if you're podcasting about the game from a local studio, if you're interviewing the fans on the street, you are broadcasting San Pedro to a global audience.
Okay, but before we get too deep into the philosophy of the software, we really need to understand the sheer scale of what we're calling the hardware.
We have to.
West Harbor. We've got the press releases here. We've got the Reddit threads. Paint the physical picture for us. What is this place actually going to look and feel like when the ribbons are finally cut?
I mean, it is massive. We are talking about 42 acres. Yeah. That's nearly a mile long of waterfront.
A mile of waterfront.
And it's completely replacing the old Port So-Called village. And visually, aesthetically, it is a complete departure from what was there before.
Oh, yeah. The old Port So-Called was very, what was it, like a New England fishing village?
Very kitschy, yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of shingles and fake seagulls. It was sort of a theme park version of what someone in the 70s thought a fishing village should look like. West Harbor is leaning hard into the actual industrial heritage of the Port of Los Angeles.
So it's embracing the grittiness.
It's embracing it, but polishing it. The aesthetic is described as industrial metal warehouses, glass A-frames. They're even using international signal flags for the branding. It's gritty, but it's very designed.
Gritty, but polished. That feels like a very deliberate choice, a specific brand they're building.
Oh, absolutely. They're trying to honor the fact that this is still a working port. This isn't Disneyland on the water.
Right.
You're going to have cranes in the background. You're going to see massive container ships moving past while you're eating your tacos. They're making that part of the attraction.
Hey, speaking of eating, the tenant roster, the menu, as you called it, is really serious. They aren't just filling this with, generic mall food courts. These are some heavy hitters.
Oh, the list is incredible.
Yeah.
For me, the biggest name that jumps out is Yamashiro. They're opening a satellite location there.
That is a huge signal. I mean, Yamashiro is a Hollywood legend, that massive, iconic pagoda on the hill in Hollywood. For them to say, our second home is going to be San Pedro, that validates the location as a premier destination, not just a local hangout.
It's a statement.
Yeah.
But it's a risky one, isn't it?
Okay.
Yamashiro is high-end. San Pedro is historically very blue-collar. It signals that the developers are betting on a whole new demographic coming in.
And they're putting it right where the old San Pedro fish market used to be.
Right on that spot. And speaking of the fish market, they are coming back too, right?
That's what the plans say.
Yeah. The world-famous San Pedro fish market is slated for a permanent return in 2026, which is huge for the locals.
Yeah.
But just look at the variety here. You've got Mike Hess Brewing, which is doing a massive beer garden.
Okay.
You have something called the Food Collective, which is basically a high-end food hall, and it's bringing in Tacos El Franc, which, by the way, is Michelin recognized.
Michelin tacos. On the San Pedro waterfront, okay, now I'm listening. That implies a whole new level of culinary seriousness.
It does. You've got Glass Box for Asian dining, Perana Empanadas, Lozio Pizza. It's not just a place to get dinner. They are building a place where you can spend an entire day just eating your way down the pier.
And then there's the one that really got the Reddit threads buzzing. Bark Social?
Yes, the membership-based dog park.
Right. I saw a Reddit user, I think their name was Pudding7, and they were asking who in their right mind is going to pay a membership fee for 300 square feet of fake grass?
It's a fair question, and it really highlights that tension we see in gentrification projects.
Totally.
San Pedro has plenty of parks. Why would you pay? But at the same time, another user pointed out that these private dog parks are becoming incredibly popular in places like Santa Monica or Austin.
So what's the appeal?
It creates a controlled social environment. It's more of a club vibe. They serve beer and coffee. It's for people who see themselves as dog parents, not just dog owners.
It's definitely a cultural shift from the old salty dog vibe at the port, that's for sure.
A big one.
But the real anchors of this entire development, it's not just food and dogs. We have to talk about the amphitheater.
This is the centerpiece, the main attraction. A 6,200-seat venue that's going to be managed by Nederlander Concerts.
So a major player.
A huge player. And the design is fascinating. It's this industrial shed concept with an LED facade that can completely change its look based on the performance.
Well, we have to pause on the amphitheater for a second because looking through the documents, this isn't just a pretty picture of a concert venue. There is a real battle happening in the permit filings here.
Oh, absolutely. It's not a real deep dive without a little bit of litigation.
Right.
You're trying to build a 6,200-seat sound-emitting shed right on the water. It is not a simple process.
And I'm looking right here at the appeal that was filed by Unite Here Local 11.
Right. This is the labor union appeal and is based on environmental impacts. And this is where the politics of development get really, really crunchy. Well, usually you see the developers fighting against the city or community groups fighting the developers. Here, you have a major labor union raising environmental flags, things like noise pollution, traffic congestion, emissions from all the cars.
But then you have the local business community fighting back against the union, which seems counterintuitive.
It does, but it makes perfect sense when you look at their motivations. Mm-hmm. We've got letters here in our stack from local business owners like Tim Gill and Chris Agajanian. They are pleading with the city council to deny the union's appeal.
So what's their argument? Why would a local business owner want to ignore potential environmental concerns?
Their argument is purely, and I mean purely economic. Mm-hmm. They are desperate for the foot traffic. They see this venue as the engine that is going to drive the entire waterfront economy.
They need the people.
They need people. And the numbers back them up. We're looking at estimates of over $100 million in labor income just during the construction phase alone. So for them, every day of delay is money lost.
So for the locals, that appeal by Uniter here isn't just some legal hurdle. It feels like a direct blockade on their potential livelihood.
Precisely. It really highlights that core tension between process and progress that a city like San Pedro is constantly wrestling with. Do you slow down to get the environmental impact report perfect, or do you speed up to get the cash registers ringing?
And then towering over all of this, literally towering, is the Ferris wheel.
The observation wheel.
Yelled as California's tallest observation wheel.
Which is, I mean, that's a direct shot across the bow at Santa Monica, isn't it?
It has to be.
It's a statement piece. It's San Pedro planting a flag and saying, we are not the ugly stepchild of the coastline anymore. We are the destination. It
really feels like San Pedro is trying to pull off this incredibly difficult trick here. They want the glossy tourism dollars. They want the big events. But the locals... Well, the locals are protective. I was reading through what we call the Reddit pulse on this, and there's this very real, very palpable fear of what they call douchification.
That is the technical term, yes.
I saw one user, otherwise Anteater239, and they asked if revitalized is just code for being priced out. They literally asked, is revitalized just code for I can't afford to live here anymore?
And that's the valid fear at the heart of every single one of these projects. There is a deep abiding love for the grimy authenticity of San Pedro.
Right.
It's a working town. It's longshoremen. It's unions. It's generational families. They don't want to become Santa Monica. They don't want to become a place where you can't buy a coffee for under $8.
But another user, Dark Gamer, made a really interesting counterpoint to that. They said the strong presence of the longshoremen, who are working class but also very well paid, might actually help San Pedro retain its character.
That's a critical distinction. And it's one people often miss. The economic base of San Pedro is the Port of L.A. That is not going away.
No, it's booming.
It's booming. It's not like an old manufacturing town where the factory closes and then the condos move in. The port is the backbone. So you have this industrial core people with good, stable union jobs who live there and own homes there. They might be the anchor that prevents a total, hipster takeover.
So the industrial nature of the town, the very thing that made it seem grimy to outsiders for so long, might actually be its immune system against total displacement.
It's a fascinating theory. You might end up with a truly unique hybrid. A wealthy, working-class waterfront. A place with both grit and glamour.
So that's the hardware. It's big, it's shiny, it's controversial, and it's happening. But now I want to pivot. I want to zoom way, way in.
Okay.
Because while West Harbor is being built with steel and cranes and $100 million budgets, there's something else being built with.
Well, with therapy and memories and a lot of heart, just a few blocks up the street.
Let's talk about the software. Let's talk about Voxel Micro Video Labs.
And specifically, let's talk about the building itself at 363 West 6th Street. And it is such a powerful tonal shift. You go from a 42-acre complex on the water to a single 36-foot-wide historic building in the middle of town. But the depth of story here is just incredible.
I was so moved reading the memoir that was provided by the founders, Jennifer Wolfe and Edwin, because usually when we analyze a real estate project, we're talking about square footage and cap rates and pro formas.
The numbers.
But Jennifer, she's a therapist by trade.
And you can absolutely tell. She doesn't write about the building like it's an asset. She writes about it like it's a patient.
She does. She talks about walking into this dilapidated building for the first time in August 2024. The roof was leaking in 17 different places. There was rotting timber everywhere. And she says she saw a heartbeat.
The history of that single building is wild. It was a J.C. Penney back in 1922. It was the place where the entire town came to shop for decades.
And during Prohibition, the basement apparently hid contraband. There's an actual trapdoor down there.
Laughs. Every good historic building needs a Prohibition-era trapdoor. It's a requirement.
It really is.
But then was a call center in the 80s. All cubicles and fluorescent lights. Then a dance studio in the 2000s. And the building has lived a dozen different lives. It has just absorbed the energy of the city for 100 years.
And Jennifer and Edwin, they're not your typical developers. They didn't swoop in from New York or some private equity fund to flip this property. They've been together for 18 years. And the catalyst for this whole project wasn't profit. It was their son, Nathan.
This is the emotional hook that really grounds the entire story for me. They became parents relatively late in life, right before the pandemic hit.
That part of the memoir really got to me. Just picture that context for a second. It's 2020, you're in lockdown, you're wiping down your groceries with bleach, you're terrified, and you're looking at your sleeping toddler in his crib.
And that ultimate caution just hits you like a ton of bricks. What are we actually leaving him?
That line in the memoir, wow, what are we leaving him?
And they realized it wasn't about money. It was about what culture are we leaving him? What kind of world is he inheriting from us?
It was this realization that it wasn't enough to just consume culture anymore, watching Netflix, ordering takeout. They wanted to create it.
They wanted to leave a physical space, a tangible place where their son could one day stand and say, my parents were here. They built this. This is where the stories of our town are kept.
It's the difference between being a tenant in your own city and being an architect of it. A profound difference.
Exactly. And even the name of the building itself, the Don Allen Experience, is so deeply personal. It's not just a brand. It's a mashup of Jennifer's parents' names.
Right. Donna, who is a psychologist, they call her the Lantern.
The Lantern. And Alan, who was a cardiologist and a venture capitalist, they call him the Spine.
The Lantern and the Spine. I mean, that is just such a beautiful way to describe a partnership. The vision and the support, the light and the strength.
And Voxel, the name of the video lab inside, that comes from Alan's failed medical imaging venture from decades ago. He tried to create 3D medical imaging voxels, and the company went under. It failed.
So they reclaimed that failure.
They reclaimed it and turned it into a symbol of resilience,
Wow.
of trying again.
I love that. Taking the thing that didn't work and making it the absolute foundation of the thing that will work. And they're naming the individual studios after their 12 nieces and nephews and even their 7 cats.
It is the ultimate anti-corporate building. It is built on love and memory, not on a spreadsheet.
It really is. And that all circles back to the mission. Why does a place like this matter to San Pedro? Their stated goal is to be a place where local stories find wings.
A launch pad.
Okay, so let's connect all these dots. We have the hardware West Harbor, big, loud, global. We have the software Voxel, small, intimate, local. How do they actually work together to help a local business thrive? What is the practical day-to-day synergy? Because right now they just sound like two very different neighbors.
Think about it like an ecosystem.
Yeah.
A giant development like West Harbor is, first and foremost, a magnet. It draws traffic.
Right.
It brings people from all over Los Angeles, from Orange County, and now with the World Cup, from all around the world.
Okay. But traffic alone doesn't make a town interesting. Traffic can be sterile. You can have thousands of people walking around a beautiful plaza, but if they don't connect with anything authentic, they just get back in their cars and leave.
Exactly. So think of West Harbor as the search engine. It brings the eyeballs, it brings the people to the area. Voxel is the SEO, the search engine optimization. It optimizes the local businesses so they actually get found and understood by that traffic.
Okay, I like that analogy. So give me a concrete example. Let's say I'm a local business owner.
Okay, perfect. Let's say you own a little boutique shop or a local brewery that is not inside the shiny new West Harbor complex. You're on 6th Street. You're looking at this $500 million thing opening down the hill, and you're terrified. You're worried that everyone is just going to go to the waterfront and completely ignore you.
Right. I'm worried about being bypassed. My whole business is at risk.
So you go to Voxel. You use their podcast studios.
Yeah.
You use their video labs. You sit down and you record your story. You explain why your IPA is special, or you talk about the history of your family's tamale recipe. You put that content out into the world now in the spring before the crowds arrive.
So that when that World Cup fan is sitting in their hotel room, scrolling on their phone, looking for best beer in San Pedro or authentic food near West Harbor,
they don't just find a Yelp review. They find your story. They hear your voice. They see a video of you making your product.
So that tourist hears it and says, hey, after the match, forget the big chain place. I want to go check out that little brewery on 6th Street, the one with the history.
You've just converted a passive tourist into an active, engaged customer. You've given them a reason to walk up the hill.
It creates an economic loop. It's brilliant. West Harbor brings the world to San Pedro's doorstep.
And Voxel helps San Pedro speak to the world that has arrived. It gives them the microphone.
It transforms the local business owner from just being a passive observer of this huge change into an active participant in it.
And it anchors the community in a different way. West Harbor is for the night out. It's for dining, for concerts, for special occasions. Voxel is for the day job. It's for creativity, for business growth, for building a legacy. A healthy city needs both of those things to survive.
This also ties directly into the policy side of things, which we can't ignore. We have to talk about the GDI zone.
Yes, the Jobs and Economic Development Incentive Zone, which sounds a bit like Star Wars, but it implies a significant amount of city money and focus.
Laughs. I was going to say, are there lightsabers involved in this revitalization plan?
Unfortunately, no. But there is up to $75,000 in grant funding available per business for facade improvements. And this is crucial nuts and bolts policy stuff.
That's the problem it's trying to solve.
Pacific Avenue, the main drag through downtown, has been struggling for a long time. Empty storefronts, graffiti, what open planners call broken teeth in the streetscape. It looks neglected.
So the city is literally paying to fix the smile of downtown.
They're incentivizing it. They're reducing permit fees. They're giving cash for facade upgrades. And Voxel sits right in the geographic middle of this whole effort. It's not just an island. It's part of a broader push to polish the historic corridor so that when the tourists do come up the hill from West Harbor, they see something that looks inviting and alive.
So Voxel isn't just a cool idea in a vacuum. It's perfectly aligned with the city's money and the city's broader revitalization strategy.
It's all connected. You fix the facades on Pacific Avenue using the GDI money. You build the storytelling hub at Voxel. You open the massive entertainment complex at West Harbor. Suddenly, you aren't just a port anymore. You're a multifaceted destination.
And we should briefly mention the blue economy aspect, too, because that really feels like the third leg of this stool, doesn't it?
It absolutely is. You can't talk about the future of San Pedro without talking about Altasea. This is happening at the port, just down the way from West Harbor. It's where San Pedro is trying to be high-tech and high-touch at the same time.
So what is Altasea actually doing?
In short, they're focused on the blue economy, which is all about ocean-based sustainability. We're talking about marine robotics, aquaculture, creating clean energy from waves. This is the science leg of the city's future.
So you've got West Harbor, which is entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
You have Voxel, which is culture.
Right.
And you have Altasea, which is science.
Exactly. It's a three-legged stool. If you have all three of those things firing at once, you have a truly resilient and diverse local economy. You have jobs for scientists, jobs for artists, and jobs for service workers, all coexisting.
It feels like San Pedro is really firing on all cylinders for the first time in a long time. But let's look ahead to this summer. Because the Voxel memoir mentions a very specific, very personal convergence in the summer of 2026. This isn't just about business plans and city policy.
No, this is the cinematic climax of their story.
The wedding.
Yes. Jennifer and Edwin are getting married inside their own building, inside the Don Allen experience in the summer of 2026.
The same season that West Harbor has its grand opening. The same season the World Cup fan zone kicks off, just blocks away.
The symbolism is just.
Yeah.
It's perfect. They talk about the building being their ring. They're rising from the dust of renovation. They use the metaphor of the phoenix.
Yeah.
At the exact same moment that the entire community is having its own rebirth.
Can you imagine that atmosphere? You've got thousands of soccer fans screaming at the waterfront. You've got a wedding celebration spilling out onto a revitalized 6th Street. You've got the new promenade buzzing with life. The whole town is just going to be electric.
And it all serves as the dress rehearsal for 2028.
Right. We can't forget the Olympics. That's the real main event.
The World Cup is huge, but the 2028 Olympics are the big one. San Pedro and neighboring Long Beach are hosting sailing, open water swimming, and other water sports. The eyes of the entire world will be fixed on this specific stretch of coastline.
So if Voxel and West Harbor can get this sync, this synergy, right in 2026...
There will be a well-oiled machine by the time the Olympic torch arrives in 2028. They'll have 2 full years to refine that post-game show concept. 2 years to build a massive library of local content. 2 years to fix the remaining infrastructure, like that Avalon pedestrian bridge that's planned to connect Wilmington to the waterfront.
So it's about building physical bridges and metaphorical bridges at the exact same time.
That is a great way to put it, building the connections.
So let's bring this all home. What does this all mean for you, the listener? Why should you care about a specific building on 6th Street or a new food hall in San Pedro?
Because I think it's a powerful case study in how communities can survive progress. We so often look at gentrification as this inevitable, unstoppable tidal wave that just washes away history. It feels hopeless a lot of the time.
Right. The big money comes in, the old soul gets washed out, end of story.
But what Voxel represents is a choice. It poses a question. Can a community choose to anchor itself? If you have a place that is dedicated to recording and broadcasting the local stories before the tidal wave of tourism and money hits, does that change the outcome?
So, can you save a town's soul by digitizing it?
Exactly. That's the question. If the stories are strong enough, and if they're out there in the world, maybe the new development doesn't replace the culture. Maybe it ends up amplifying it. Maybe the hardware actually amplifies the heart instead of crushing it.
That is a fascinating thought. It's not about trying to fight the wave. It's about building a boat before the storm comes.
And Voxel's building the boat.
So the dress rehearsal starts this July 2026. We'll be watching.
We certainly will.
That wraps up our deep dive into the hardware and the heart of San Pedro. A huge thank you for the sources, especially that incredible and personal memoir from the team at Voxel Micro Video Labs.
It really brought the data to life in a powerful way.
For our listeners, if you're in the LA area, maybe take a drive down to San Pedro this weekend. See the steel rising on the waterfront. See the historic brick being restored on 6th Street. And ask yourself, what's your local story?
And who is telling it?
Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next deep dive.